All right, let's dive into one of the most chilling ghost ship legends out there. We're talking about the SS Ourang Medan, a ship that sent out this one last, absolutely terrifying message, and then just disappeared, taking all its secrets with it. Yeah, it all started, and really it all ended, with those few broken words. Can you imagine hearing that come over the radio? It was a desperate message from a dying man, and it kicked off a mystery that even now, more than 70 years later, we still can't explain. The whole thing started on what should have been a totally normal day out on the water.
So, let's set the scene. It all begins with a chilling SOS.
Okay, so picture this. It's February 1948, and we're in the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Suddenly, a bunch of different ships in the area, American, British, you name it, they all start picking up this really strange signal. And it wasn't a voice. It was Morse code. Old school dots and dashes, but super reliable. It could get a message through when pretty much nothing else could. At first, the message seemed, well, pretty standard for an emergency. It was an SOS from a ship identifying itself as the Ourang Medan. They needed a doctor, and they needed to connect on shortwave radio right away. Urgent, for sure, but nothing totally out of the ordinary. But then, the message kept coming, and it was about to get a whole lot weirder. And that's when the tone just completely changed. This wasn't someone asking for a doctor anymore. This was a report from the middle of a disaster. Probably second officer dead, other crew members also dead. It was a plea, a desperate call for a warship. The radio operator managed to tap out the ship's position, and then came those last two horrifying words, "I die." And after that, nothing. Just radio silence. Next up, the silent ship. So the closest ship to answer that terrifying call was an American merchant vessel, the Silver Star. Her captain didn't hesitate. He changed course and steamed full speed ahead for the Ourang Medan's last known location. He was probably expecting to find a shipwreck, maybe a fire, something. But what he actually found was so much stranger. As the Silver Star gets closer, the crew is just baffled. The Ourang Medan is right there, floating on a calm sea, and it looks totally fine. No damage at all. But something is seriously wrong. It's a steamship, but there's no smoke coming from its funnel. Not a soul is moving on deck. Total silence. The captain of the Silver Star tries everything, blasting the ship's horn, shouting over the loudspeaker, and gets nothing back. Absolutely nothing but the sound of the ocean. All right, this brings us to the horrifying discovery. The captain of the Silver Star, faced with this creepy, silent ship, decides he has to know what's going on. He puts together a boarding party to go over and investigate. And believe me, they had no idea what they were about to walk into. The second that rescue team set foot on the deck, they knew why it was so quiet. Bodies were everywhere. The entire crew, every single person, was dead. But it wasn't just that they were dead. It was how they were found. Every single person had their eyes and mouth stretched wide open. Their faces were locked in these masks of absolute terror, as if the last thing they saw had literally scared them to death. And here's where it gets truly bizarre. The boarding party checks the bodies, and there are no injuries, no wounds, no signs of a fight, nothing. Whatever killed this crew, it didn't leave a single physical mark. The only clue was that horrifying, shared look of terror on every single face. It was like time had just frozen in a moment of panic. The captain was found dead on the bridge. His officers were dead at their stations. And the radio operator, the guy who sent that last message, they found him slumped over his console, fingers still touching the Morse key. It was like he dropped dead the second he finished sending that signal. Even the ship's dog was found dead, frozen in the middle of a snarl, teeth bared. So, what happens next? Gone without a trace. The crew of the Silver Star, completely freaked out by this whole thing, decide they need to get this ghost ship to a port, for a proper investigation. But the Ourang Medan wasn't done yet. It had one more surprise in store. So they start hooking up tow lines, and just like that, smoke starts billowing out of one of the cargo holds. And this isn't a small fire. It erupts and spreads insanely fast. The rescue team has to think quick. They cut the lines and scramble for their lives to get back to their own boat. And they barely make it away in time. As soon as they're clear, a huge explosion just rips the Ourang Medan to pieces. And just like that, the ship, its dead crew, and any evidence of what happened, all gone, sunk to the bottom of the ocean. So let's get into the theories. With the ship itself completely gone, all we have to go on is what the crew of the Silver Star saw. There's no wreck to examine, no bodies, nothing. And when you have a vacuum like that, speculation just rushes in to fill the void. Over the years, this story has sparked some pretty wild and compelling theories. Okay, so first things first, we have to ask the biggest question of all. Did this ship even exist? It's a fair question, because skeptics will tell you there's no official record of any ship named the SS Ourang Medan in the big shipping registries, like Lloyd's of London. But on the other hand, people who believe the story point out that this was right after World War II. The world was a mess, and it was super common for ships doing, let's say, less than legal activities to use fake names and stay off the books entirely. All right, so if we assume the ship was real, what in the world happened to the crew? Well, there are basically three big theories. The first, and maybe most logical, is a lethal cargo. The idea is that the ship was smuggling something really nasty, maybe unstable chemicals that leaked a toxic gas. That would explain why everyone died so fast with no injuries, and it would also explain the big explosion at the end. Then there's a much darker version of that theory, connecting the ship to the infamous Japanese Unit 731. Could the Ourang Medan have been secretly moving some of their horrifying biological weapons? It would definitely explain the need for secrecy. And then, of course, there's the supernatural theory. This one says that no chemical or weapon could cause that specific look of pure terror on everyone's face. That had to be something else. For decades, this whole story was just that, a story. A cool piece of maritime folklore you tell around a campfire. But then, in 2003, everything changed. The mystery suddenly got a whole lot more real because the CIA, yes, the CIA, declassified a secret file about the Ourang Medan. So, what was in this file? It was a letter written way back in 1958 and sent to the CIA. And in this letter, some unknown person lays out the whole Ourang Medan story and then says this. They felt sure that this one tragedy holds the key to explaining lots of other mysterious disappearances of ships and planes. Now think about that. The fact that the CIA didn't just toss this letter, but kept it secret for 45 years, that adds a whole new layer to this thing. It really makes you think this was way more than just a simple accident at sea. And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? What really happened out there? Was it a smuggled chemical weapon gone horribly wrong? Was it some kind of terrifying supernatural encounter? Or was this a top-secret mission that was so sensitive, its failure had to be literally wiped off the map? We'll probably never know. The truth, whatever it was, went down with the ship, leaving us with just that one single haunting question.